Hello, everybody, and welcome to Play by Play, the daily wrestling podcast, episode 14. Here we are with a very special episode previewing the Royal Rumble 2015. It's the last episode of the week. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Atif Nawaz, and I am with my colleague, my broadcast colleague, Mr. Arman Kirmani.
I'm absolutely delighted. Episode 14. 14, as you know, is my lucky number.
It is, yeah.
And absolutely, we're going to have a lucky show today.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I know it's your lucky number. I've spent some time with you in
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay, great. So let's start the show. Before we get into our Royal Rumble preview, let's start the show again by thanking our wonderful partners, eWrestling News. Check them out, ewrestlingnews.com. It's a great website. It's an amalgamation of news from around the world. Great articles, great news updates, great stories, everything. And, of course, loads of play-by-play content. So check us out on there as well. Also, want to thank and throw a shout out to topropepress.com. There are lovely friends over there as well. They've got great articles, great pieces there as well. So check out topropepress.com. Now then, all the plugs are out of the way.
And one more plug.
Oh, yeah?
Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yeah, our YouTube. Oh, us, yeah.
Because when you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you can get daily updates from when our show is on.
Yeah.
And you can listen to all our historic podcasts, which are the best podcasts on the internet. And you need to share them.
I like that bullishness, man. I do like it. Anyway, we've covered all the topics before the Intercontinental Championship yesterday. We've talked about historic WrestleManias. We've talked about all sorts of stuff, and we're happy to talk about whatever it is you want us to talk about. Make sure you interact with us.
But today, we've got to talk about the Rumble.
We do. And just before we go into that discussion, just want to invite everybody to tweet us at playbyplay123 or email us questions at playbyplay123.co.uk. And, of course, you can comment and like and do all sorts of stuff on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/playbyplaywrestling. Arman.
Or you can abuse us on sites such as eWrestling News.
Yeah, you can.
And tell us that we only just started watching wrestling, which we take really well, by the way.
That's been good. Wow, man. You're really hurting, man.
Well, no,
You're feeling it.
I'm okay.
You're okay?
I'm okay.
As long as you're okay. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
Just making sure. Okay, tell me straight away, Arman, right off the bat, who's going to win the Royal Rumble?
I have no idea.
That's a really good thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, for the first
It's a great thing, right?
We knew last year that Batista
Yeah.
was about to win it and Brian might get screwed over, so that's exactly what happened.
So for everything, everybody agrees that there's only two obvious choices. So everybody agrees that the two main favorites going into this year's Royal Rumble are Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns. So Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns are the two big favorites. But then you've got this kind of second tier of maybes. You've got the surprise factor of another couple of people. So it's not completely inconceivable that nobody else can win.
Yeah.
But really, the way it's been booked, the way they've kind of mixed, you don't really know what to expect. But I think it's fair to assume that it's 99% likely either Bryan or Roman Reigns walks away the winner.
Do you think that the WWE creative team or the main man, or the main two men right
The
now,
main McMahon.
and the main Helmsley,
Lebeck.
do they know who they want to win the Rumble yet?
Well, so supposedly a few weeks ago, a lot of the WWE superstars backstage were already upset about who was going to win. So Triple H had to hold an impromptu emergency meeting with the staff in the backstage, all the wrestlers, and kind of explain to them why he wanted to go in the direction he wanted to. And he also explicitly said that they hadn't made a final decision on who's going to win the Rumble yet. And that was only a couple of weeks ago.
So they were upset, which indicates that's not somebody deserving.
Yeah, I mean, I assume they wouldn't be upset about Bryan because I think he's paid his dues.
That sounds like Orton to me.
That sounds like Reigns to me.
Well, I don't think anyone would be upset if backstage Reigns won it because he's a new guy. Him getting a push is probably as well deserved as anyone.
Well, but he is a new guy. It's a premature, maybe.
Watch out for Orton and his comeback.
Well, that's the third thing. So, I mean, let's talk about Orton in a second, actually, because he's an interesting one. Let's acknowledge that second tier. So, for me, the second tier of people that could potentially win, Dolph Ziggler, Dean Ambrose, and Bray Wyatt. Now, Bray Wyatt's been booked really strongly on TV, especially in recent months. He went over in his feud against Ambrose. Ambrose was made relatively strong as well. He won that non-title match against Bad News Barrett on Raw, which we talked a lot about yesterday. But, let's not talk about that.
Does he have an outside chance?
Ambrose?
No, Bad News Barrett.
Nah.
Wow. He might be in the third tier.
Nah, if he won the Royal Rumble, he'd probably lose in a non-title match the next night.
Him and Big Show.
Big Show, of course, I think Big Show's in the third tier for me. I don't think there's no chance that Big Show wins this Royal Rumble. People will revolt. People will throw stuff in that arena if Big Show walks away the winner.
Well, that would make sense why the backstage people are really upset.
Well, I mean, I assume, like they did last year, I think they'll change them. But they must have learned their lesson from last year. Maybe they have to. I mean, Batista was
never learned that
Batista experiment that should have taught them something.
That they'll do it again.
I don't know, man. I don't see it happening. The thing is, like, Batista's a great wrestler. I don't think anybody disputes his pedigree. Everybody should value the fact that he wants to come back and have a proper run, not like the Rock style run, a proper run in the company. He was even willing to kind of, if I can borrow a phrase from The Rock, know his role and step into a secondary role because the audience has rejected him in that main face role. And there wasn't anything else for him to do apart from to join Evolution again. And I thought they had Evolution as a faction, had a cool T-shirt last year, with the skeletons. But yeah, I don't think they would do the same thing again. But if they were bringing somebody else in from the outside, supposedly, is it possible Batista's coming in again to win a second consecutive Rumble?
Wow, well, that would get some real good heat for him.
Yeah?
I think that would be a very interesting move. I would like to see that potentially.
Yeah, I mean, sorry. Wait, hold on. You'd like to see Batista win a second consecutive Rumble?
Well, it would be his third Rumble in total. And if he wins it, it suggests that he'll be there for a long period of time. And I think that the main event status could do with another big guy who's believable in the ring. And actually, I think I prefer Batista as a heel than as a face because
he's great. He's a great heel. His best promo was his last promo in his last
I have to be honest, I'm not the biggest Batista fan, but that swerve would make things really interesting leading into Mania.
Oh, I have to disagree with that. Let's look at it realistically. He's a movie star now, right? He's got some big name movies coming. He was in the biggest grossing movie of 2014, Guardians of the Galaxy, which was fun. I enjoyed Guardians. Did you see Guardians?
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it was all right. Worth a watch. But yeah, I just don't see him making a full-time comeback to the company. It makes no sense. He's in a great position right now in Hollywood to try and pursue big roles. I'd like to see him go up against The Rock in a movie now. He's off that status. He could do it. And of course, he'll do the sequel to Guardians. So I think he's out of the question.
You've built him up. Yeah. And now you're saying he's out of the question.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
you got my hopes up that we could have a massive swerve, and you got the audience excited that Batista could actually come back.
He's not going to come back.
And now you said he's not coming
back. There's
no
chance.
Well, forget that then.
There's no chance Batista comes back.
That's brilliant.
Okay,
we're knocking them off one by one.
Right. Let's start with the top two. Let's start with the top two. Of Reigns and Bryan.
Bryan's not winning. Let's move on.
Why
I don't want him to win.
Why not?
I don't care.
But why not?
I don't want him to win.
Even if the majority of the audience is happy.
No, I don't care about the majority. This is not a democracy. This is entertainment. Okay, let's get on with it. Bryan cannot win. We cannot give him 2 in a row for no reason.
We didn't get 2 in a row.
Well, whatever.
He didn't. He wasn't in last year's Rumble.
2 main events at WrestleMania in a row. I don't want that story again.
I think a lot of people are clamoring for it. A lot of people would love to see it.
Listen, go listen to episode 9 or whatever it was. Let's move on.
I know you don't want to see Bryan, but you wrote a piece on E-Wrestling News about Bryan.
No.
But that's what you called it. But this is the thing. I think a lot of people would be very happy to see Bryan win. A lot of people consider him to be the most deserving person at this point as well. He never really lost the championship, so his redemption story would work quite nicely. And if anything, that redemption story has more backbone than John Cena's did when he chased The Rock for a second year in a row. So I think it would be a great match to see. I would like any of these matches. I'd love Bryan versus Cena. I'd love Bryan versus Rollins, and I'd definitely love Bryan versus Brock. All 3 of them are fantastic main events that a lot of the audience can get behind, and they can really build behind Bryan. They like Bryan, even though they don't think he's particularly ambitious.
Right, you've got your Bryan promo in there. Can we go in and now talk about
Tell me about Reigns.
Well, Reigns is not yet ready, but that kind of makes him interesting because if he does win it, then he almost has to be ready, and that means we're going to have a really interesting 2 or 3 months leading into Mania for him. And I don't know, man. I think he'll grow into the role. I mean, I like his Samoan heritage. He's related to The Rock.
You called him fat a few episodes ago.
Yeah, I did, and I think he's going to lose weight if he's going to go into Mania. I'm not disputing.
He was in good shape on Monday. On Monday, he looked like he was in good shape.
Well, he looks like he's getting fitter, which is good. But regardless, he needs to get fitter and continue because his. If you look at his genetic legacy, everyone seems to gain weight pretty quickly in the Samoan wrestling family.
We talked about Yokozuna a few episodes ago as well. Yeah.
Umaga, Rikishi. So he will end up a big guy eventually, one way or another.
Well, The Rock managed to keep the weight off. He's shredded.
Give him 5 years.
Okay. Well, he's in his mid-40s now, so who knows? But yeah, okay, I understand what you mean. So you think if they pull the trigger on Roman Reigns, they'll know where they stand. But I think they have a lot on the line with Roman Reigns because they genuinely see him as the next Cena type face of the company, the kind of superhero type figure they can build big storylines around, sell loads of Roman Reigns merchandise.
It'll never work. It'll never work, and I can tell you now it won't work because he doesn't have a promo in him. He doesn't have a good promo in him.
Yeah.
Well, I think by now he should have had it. He's had 2.5, 3 years in the main event, sort of.
Not 2.5. Well, he's always sharing it with the Shield.
Yeah, but
and he's lucky. He's got 2 good talkers around him.
Yeah, but I don't think it's the world's biggest deal. He doesn't have to have that massive promo in him. I think they need to give him a good manager and make him somebody like is fearful, is scary, and that will work, and he'll be over if he just continues to work hard in the ring and has good matches and continues to be booked in good spots. He'll be fine. I'm not too worried about it.
I only like Roman Reigns winning the Rumble in 2 ways, right? One, I'd like to see a Shield triple threat match at WrestleMania, right? And I've mentioned this before. I wouldn't mind seeing Rollins, Ambrose, and Reigns in a triple threat match for the world title. So Reigns wins. That's okay with me.
Again, my only gripe with that is if they do that, I can't see that being the main event.
Well, I think they'll have a nice supporting cast of events anyway, with Sting versus Triple H, with Daniel Bryan versus Brock potentially still, or Randy Orton versus Brock.
It sounds like a Fastlane card rather than a WrestleMania.
Okay, all right, okay. Well, hey, I could. You know what? You might be right. There might be the Fastlane main event, the triple threat with the Shield. Everybody would love to see that match anyway. But I don't mind Reigns winning in that scenario. I don't mind him if he's going to be booked in a convincing Goldberg-like fashion, the way Goldberg was booked in WCW. He didn't take too many moves. It was intense. He had a great entrance, which Reigns has a good entrance. I like his entrance through the crowd. Keep that going. Why not? But maybe add a bit of pizzazz to it. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they'll find their way to do it. Yeah. And maybe teach him slowly how to cut better promos, or just keep the mic away from him and be a mysterious, cool face, like Sting was in WCW as well. Yeah. So there's loads of little lessons they can learn from WCW about how to book a mysterious face, because their 2 biggest faces in WCW were Sting and Goldberg.
I would never learn anything from the WCW.
Well, not had to book an unstoppable monster like Goldberg. That's what Reigns needs to be right now. That's what Reigns needs. Anyway, for me, in that scenario, or the third way I accept Reigns winning the Royal Rumble, is if there's an eventual heel turn planned with him. Because I think the way his promos have been going, there's a chance they improve between now and Mania. But if he doesn't connect with the fans the way they want him to, his heel turn will be his salvation. And as you suggested,
do we make him a Paul Heyman guy?
No, because Paul Heyman curries too much favor with the fans, really. It's hard to dislike Paul Heyman because he's so good at what he does. Agree with that. Right?
In fact, I would like to quote that I think Paul Heyman is the greatest non-wrestling talker.
Currently on television or ever?
No, I think one of ever. He'll be up there ever.
Wow. You're taking people like Bobby Heenan.
Well, I won't think that they're the same, because Heenan was also a wrestler and then he was a commentator. I would say that.
Has Heyman never wrestled?
Heyman may have.
Like those special attraction types.
But what I would say about Heyman is I'm not putting him in the same category as Heenan, because I'm not just looking at his commentary work. I'm looking at him as just a generic talker of selling a match.
Oh, he's a great salesman.
And Heenan was amazing. One of my favorites by far.
Okay, hold on. So I'm going to stop you right there because we're getting off topic. Neither of them are going to win the Royal Rumble.
No.
Talk to me about Rumble winners.
Well, the Rumble winner might end up with Heyman, so it was relevant.
Okay, fair enough.
But anyway, so let's go to the second tier.
The second tier. Okay, so the second tier are people that this is something that I've suggested, right? So it's not universal. It's just the way I look at it. So you've got your top 2 favorites, which is Reigns and Bryan. Your second tier is you've got your Ziggler. I think you've got to consider your Dolph Ziggler in the second tier. You've almost certainly got Dean Ambrose, and you've got Bray Wyatt, and maybe just a 2.5 tier. I'd throw Ryback in there as well.
Okay.
Right, because
and Big Show.
Big Show's
in third tier.
Big Show's third tier for me. So I don't want to see Big Show win. I don't want to see Ryback win. Fandango don't get a tier. He's just sitting on the floor, mate. So I like Fandango. Actually, I've got a lot of love for Fandango, but not in this Royal Rumble match. He's good.
Yeah, I had a lot of love for him when he was with Summer Rae, but since that's not happening.
Why did they do? Well, Rosa Mendes isn't a downgrade, my friend. So
definitely not. But Summer Rae is Summer Rae.
Well, I'm sure you're looking forward to the Marine 4 home front featuring Summer Rae and The Miz. So okay, let's come back to this. So of the second tier of wrestlers that I've noted, who do you think has the best shot?
I'd like to say Ziggler, but I think he's got the worst shot if I'm in reality.
Sure.
I think Bray Wyatt has the best shot because he's been booked the best. Yes. I think he would make a very interesting main event at Mania. It gives you a lot of marketing and booking potential going in.
He cuts a hell of a promo, even though it's a bit samey.
He can cut a hell of a promo, and I think he's a good worker. I actually think he should be in the first tier, but he doesn't seem to be in that first tier.
Would you like to see him in the main event of WrestleMania?
Yes, just because I think that you'll build up to a non-traditional main event.
Okay. And you'd like to see a non-traditional main event?
Yeah, why not?
Because you know what? To be fair to you, at WrestleMania, which is in California this year, right? So it's going to be. I mean, to see all those mobile phones and stuff going, it'll be a hell of a visual. Yeah. And if it is the main event, that build-up, it almost has an Undertaker type feel to it. Yeah. But who would you like to see Bray Wyatt? Who's he going to face at Mania if a face doesn't go over at the Rumble? A face Brock? I don't know about that.
Cena.
But they fought last year at WrestleMania.
Yeah, not for the title.
Does that make enough of a difference?
I think it does. I think it does. You know, I can see that happening, but
it feels like a Fastlane headliner to me.
Well, you may well be right, but we may end up getting some turns in the middle. So you may get a heel turn from a face, or you may get a face turn from Bray.
That's what I was going to say. So here's one for you. I was going to say Bray Wyatt turning face, or de facto face, because the fans obviously love him already.
Yeah, that could happen.
Against a heel who?
Rollins.
Rollins versus Wyatt?
Could happen.
I don't know. That doesn't sound like an attractive match.
No, I'm not saying that it's. I'm just looking at some non-traditional options.
What about Wyatt versus Brock?
I definitely don't think that makes sense right now.
It'll be interesting. I don't see the styles complementing each other.
But this is what I'm saying. If you give Wyatt the Rumble, you've got a whole new range of opportunities creatively that we're not even thinking of. I can't even imagine at the moment, which is only good because actually you've got lots to build on that card.
I guess so. I mean, Mania is going to have loads of supporting acts anyway, so there won't be as much pressure on the main event as there usually is, and certainly not as much as there will be next year when they've got to sell 105,000 tickets. But okay, let's look at some of the other names. Now, Dean Ambrose, he's still cutting a hell of a promo. He's doing his best with some awkward backstage skits. He's even got himself a win on the last couple of shows, right?
Hey.
Yeah, so he even got himself some wins. I like Dean Ambrose. I've got a lot of time for him. I think in the future he's going to be a main eventer. I don't think this is the right moment for him to go over. It's premature. I think he could be a third man. He might have to chaperone Roman Reigns on his big day at WrestleMania.
Let's be honest here. He's been booked so badly in 2015 that we can't take him seriously if he wins right now.
Not yet. I'd like to see him book better so that 2016 is his year.
But had he come in and won the ambulance match, had he come in and won all of his matches on Raw and SmackDown, brutality, he was actually coming into 2015, which is less than 3.5 weeks ago, looking at one of the big main contenders for the Rumble. And now all of a sudden he's into a second tier and we can't take him seriously. So he's, annoyed somebody backstage, that's for sure. And I don't think that he's going to win. So I think I might put him into that 2.5 category. Okay,
let's talk about, since you said 2.5, let's talk about Ziggler and Ryback a little bit. Now, they're both reinstated on Raw, both now faces. Ryback for a while was getting a big push as a face. I don't think he flopped necessarily, but they were in a position where they couldn't book him to go over CM Punk when he was last main eventing. And he got a chance to tell his promo. He did that promo, the same promo he did on Raw, he did on Talk is Jericho, Chris Jericho's podcast. And it was really heartfelt. It really makes you bond with him. And remember, this is right after CM Punk had a lot of negative things to say about him.
I thought that promo was a disaster. And
really?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it made fans bond with him. It made him feel like a real guy.
I don't want to see him as a real guy. I was quite happy seeing him as a machine that beats people up. He's really bad on the mic.
I don't think so. It's just his voice that makes you think that. No, he's got a husky voice.
No, this guy is, as far as I'm concerned, is ruining all the opportunities he gets, and he gets so many big pushes. I don't think he'll be going over, but
I'm sorry,
he did go over.
In what way is Ryback a push?
Well, if you remember, before Ryback, he actually came in and actually had a main event with Cena.
CM Punk.
And CM Punk.
It actually might have been Cena as well. I think it did a triple threat.
It came out of nowhere with the Phoebe Moore gimmick. So
well, it got a lot of. Fans love it. Even now, they love it.
Well, it's coming back.
He ain't winning the Rumble though, is he?
I don't think he's winning the Rumble. And if he wins, then I guess we're starting to look at Ryback Brock.
I don't buy that. I know Brock is a badass. I can't accept I like the Ryan Reeves story, the Ryback story. I like it, especially because he's quite likable. When you listen to his story and the way he talks about it.
I went home and read a book and got inspired.
No, it's not that simple, man. He had a career debilitating injury. He was told that he was never going to make a comeback.
I'm aware of that.
It's very similar to Brock's story, actually.
Yeah, but I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that.
He worked hard for his spot,
and they've all worked hard, and I just don't buy into Ryback's current booking status.
Ziggler, let's talk about Ziggler then.
I'd love to see Ziggler win, but my biggest problem with Ziggler winning is it almost feels like he's jobbed so much and for so much of his career, a bit like Michaels did, that what's going to happen after he wins? Is he ever going to have that credibility as champion? Because he takes far too many beats.
Well, here's what went wrong with Ziggler, right? Ziggler was booked awfully. They had a really good chance when he went over at the Survivor Series and had that kind of thing of he's the guy who puts the authority out of television, right? So he's the guy. If they booked him well between that period, they started to. They had him tag teaming with John Cena, and he was getting the pin. They had him tag teaming with Reigns. They had him making all these like notable things. Then out of nowhere, I don't know if he was being punished for something or what was going on, but they gave him the IC championship and then took it away very quickly.
And then fired him.
And then did this firing storyline, which came out of nowhere and makes him look like a jabroni.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Why did they do that? They had such a good chance. If they just kept him on TV and made him look strong from Survivor Series to now, we'd genuinely be talking about him as a contender to win.
I agree. And he's got the best drop kick in the WWE.
In North America.
In North America.
There's some good drop kicks in TNA actually as well.
Anyways, I think that Ziggler would be a very fun choice because he starts to take, we start to move into a territory where the workers are getting recognition again.
Oh yeah.
I would love because what it would mean for wrestling if Ziggler wins is a hell of a lot. But again, I don't think he'd be the right choice because one, he's been booked so negatively in terms of taking too many hits, selling a hell of a lot. Just the fact that if he wins, I mean, I'm just thinking I can't see him as a credible long-term champion, just because he's just a good seller.
I'd like to see him. I tell you what, I'm going to go back to yesterday. If you haven't heard yesterday's show, by the way, you should definitely go back and listen to it. It's called The Self-Destruction of the Intercontinental Championship. I'd rather than Ziggler winning the Rumble, I'd rather he won the Intercontinental Championship and wore it around his waist for a year, right, and gave it some credence, and then as IC champion got into a position where he had a program with the main champion.
Yeah, I mean,
that's how I'd like his story to go.
That's kind of how Edge did it. That's kind of how Edge went up.
Yeah, Edge was a little bit lucky in the sense that that whole thing happened with Rob Van Dam, so they were going to give Rob Van Dam the big push.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. But he also had the Matt Hardy gimmick in the middle, which went.
That could have gone wrong. He survived that. Yeah. Unbelievable that Matt Hardy was the one who got sacked, and he was the one who became the legend.
Yeah.
It was weird how that started. But anyway, so thinking about the Rumbles, right? I mean, I just in Rumble history recently they've gone with kind of new people. They went with Alberto Del Rio.
Sheamus.
They went with Sheamus,
who's also making a comeback.
Yeah, so it suggests he's going to come. Some of the surprise entrants at the Rumble, by the way, that they've talked about. I heard a rumor that the New Age Outlaws are going to be there.
They're not going to win it.
They're not going to win it. They're going to make a surprise appearance. Any other surprise appearances you've heard of, apart from Randy Orton potentially repairing and Sheamus, as you say?
Well, I'm not actually sure, but I'm sure they might bring back some of the old legacy, like they like to do with like Snooker and Diesel and Jake the Snake and all of that.
Oh yeah, Jimmy Snooker. Maybe I don't know how many of them I want to see. I would rather keep them limited. I definitely don't want to see Jerry Lawler going anywhere near it again, or Michael Cole, or JBL even for that matter. Even JBL looked good in the ring the other day, but let's just keep it to that, right? Let's not mess around.
Kofi Kingston will be there, I'm sure, for his annual spot.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to that. He had a great spot last year.
That's almost turning into like one of the main things in the Rumble match. It's a bit like the streak.
Yeah,
you're looking forward to the Rumble for us. I remember when he was the other guy that John Morrison.
John Morrison used to
do the spots as well. I'd love it if he made a comeback.
John Morrison's fantastic. He's actually going by John Hennigan at the moment on the indie circuit.
Well, you never know. Here's an outside shout for you, John Morrison, to make a spot
at the Royal Rumble. Yeah, maybe
in the Rumble match.
I wouldn't be surprised that he left WWE under weird circumstances as well. Shame we never saw him in
Santino.
Santino's comedy spot. What is that going to be? I don't know. So he's apparently in the Rumble. I don't know if you watched it on the WWE Network, where he did a whole program where they called it the lottery.
Yeah.
So I thought the implication was that they were going to draw numbers and you're going to know what the order of the Rumble is going to be.
No, it wasn't. It was just
that's what the implication was,
yeah.
but it wasn't that. It was like some point. It was like the buy the numbers package, but like over a half-hour program, which is massively disappointing. I have to tell you. But yeah, so I mean, Santino will be there, I'm sure.
He calls John Cena Chainer.
China, he still calls him that. Yeah.
Chainer, he calls him Chainer. He calls him John Chainer.
It's just weird, man.
John Chainer.
But then you call the clique, so who knows?
John Chainer. Come on, man. I had a full justification for my clique.
Do you remember when they did that angle where John Cena was sacked and had a Mexico tour coming up and he headlined all the house shows as his Mexican cousin Juan Cena?
Yeah, I remember that.
That's bizarre.
Juan Chainer. Juan Chainer.
Juan Chainer. Wow.
That's it. That's my new name.
Well, there's a little shout for you. What if John
name.
Cena loses in his World Heavyweight Championship match, but somehow, or any of those three people find themselves in the Royal Rumble? Would you be happy with that?
Assuming that the Rumble is in the main event, which I think it.
Well, the Rumble will be the main event.
World title.
It depends. I think wherever you're going to get the happier ending is going to be the main event. The indication will be in the way that the card is structured. If the World Championship match is going to go on first, then I strongly suspect Seth Rollins will be walking away with the World Championship. And
I guess that's a really interesting question to think about. What is going to be the main event? I have a feeling that the championship will be the main event.
I think it'll be the Rumble. I think it has to be the Rumble because that's it, right? That's what you're ordering, the Royal Rumble. It's an exciting Rumble as well this year. You don't know who's going to win.
Do you know what? I hate the fact there's a pay-per-view in between Rumble and Mania because you should know what the match at Mania is going to be straight after the Rumble, not having to go into another pay-per-view and then decide what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think when they had that pay-per-view in between, when they had it initially, the strategy was always a tag main event for that. So your main event would be set at Royal Rumble, but the main event for that middle event would be like a tag main event.
Well, it was really confusing in the middle because you didn't know which championship they were going to fight for as well, did you?
Yeah, of course. So they had two belts, and which one are you going to challenge for?
Absolute nonsense.
And that never made any sense apart from with Batista. So I remember that Batista Triple H angle. That was one of the best executed.
And when the hell do you pick the SmackDown belt to fight for at Mania if you win the Rumble? What a waste!
No, it's supposedly built on whomever you'd like to feud with as well. So I think that's. If you're following reality, which WWE seldom does, you'd pick the weaker of the two champions, wouldn't you? Logistically,
so that's you can win one of the belts.
So you can win one of the belts, but that's not the way it works. See, wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if your Intercontinental Championship had that kind of status that you could use that to headline pay-per-views like Fastlane, so that you could advertise your main event for WrestleMania 2 months in advance, especially in the network era? It would be awesome.
Well, listen to the previous podcast.
Yeah, you listened to yesterday's. Absolutely. Well, that brings us to the end of today's podcast. But hey, guys and girls, make sure you tweet us and tell us who you think is going to win the Royal Rumble. Tweet us at PlayByPlay123. Who's going to win? Tell us. Make your pick. And we might even count. I think we might do a little count of people who tweet us. Yeah. And then reveal the numbers just before the Rumble goes on air. And then we'll be doing a very special broadcast on Monday where we'll be recapping the Royal Rumble. We'll be looking ahead to the Raw and to the Fastlane and to WrestleMania. All sorts of stuff to cover.
I can't believe it. So this is our final podcast before our first ever pay-per-view.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Next time I see your face, we're going
to know roughly what the Mania card is.
We're going to roughly know what the Mania card is. We're going to know who the winner of the Rumble is. Yeah. We're going to know who won the championship.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about this for 2.5 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And this is it.
This is it. It's coming. It's coming to a head. It's going to be exciting. We're going to watch it together as well. We might even take a few selfies and post them on the Facebook page. Don't worry, we won't do that. But yeah, make sure you tweet us. Make sure you email us. Remember, it's questions at playbyplay123.co.uk. And our Facebook page is facebook.com/playbyplaywrestling. Right, let's wrap up our week with a neat little package. Let's talk about Dean Douglas Award. Let's talk about match of the day. Right, we finally, Arman, got the correct answer to my question, which was a rollover question, Dean Douglas Award of the Day, right? Which was, what was the correct attendance of WrestleMania 3? Now, we all know WrestleMania 3 is widely touted by WWE as being the highest grossing event, 93,000 people supposedly, but that's not correct. All the insider magazines, all the dirt sheets, as some people call them, or used to call them, things like PW Torch, Power Slam, Wrestling News, of course, our partner. You can find all this information on there, and I can tell you the correct answer was 78,000 people. 78,000 people officially attended WrestleMania 3. And a very, very well done to Mr. Maxud. Maxud, cool name. At Maxud. So well done to you. You are today's Dean of the Day, my friend. A roller, the Dean of the Day. Well done, Max.
Well done. That was my turn.
Yeah, match of the day time.
Here we go. Match of the day. Firstly, my question.
Questions.
And my question is, we know Hulk Hogan, and we know
heard of him.
I've heard of him too. We know that he's a legendary Royal Rumble winner.
Yes.
You may remember his victory in '91. You may remember his victory in 1990. You may remember the controversial ending in '92 where Flair wins and he eliminates Sid Justice at the end through a handshake, which he doesn't win. But he was actually in one other Royal Rumble. And he was actually eliminated in that Rumble by a tag team. Name that tag team.
So wait, hold on. So Ric Flair's only been in 4 Royal Rumbles?
This question has nothing to do with Ric Flair. It's about Hogan.
Hogan, sorry, I beg your pardon. Okay, so
Hogan has been in 4
Royal Rumbles. So he's won 2.
He's won 2.
And 1 he was in the last 3.
In 92.
92. And then he was in one other
Rumble, and he was eliminated by a tag team.
Wow.
What was the name of that tag team?
That's a wicked question.
I know.
I don't know who that is off the top of my head. I have no idea. That's a great one. I wonder if even Glenn Abbott knows this one.
Well, he won't. He's not true. Wikipedia. Anyways, so my match of the day.
Yeah.
Since it's Rumble is going to be from a previous Rumble, and this is when the 1, 2, 3 kid teamed up with Bob Holly to fight in a tag team championship match against Bam Bam Bigelow and.
I don't know, who was it? $1 Million Man?
I think it was the corporation. I think it was IRS.
IRS, okay, yeah, so it was part of the $1 Million Corporation.
And it's from the 1995 Royal Rumble.
That's wicked.
I want you to go and check that match out because it was one of the best tag team matches. My favorite Rumble. I know it's not everyone's favorite Rumble, but it was definitely my favorite Rumble.
Was Bob Holly now Bob Holly, or was he still Bob Spark Plug Holly?
I think it was Bob Holly. I think
it was Bob Holly now. So he wasn't Sparky Plug.
And they were kind of just a random tag team.
Yeah.
And they fought for the championship, and it was just a really feel good match.
95 Royal Rumble
95
on the WWE Network.
There you go.
Yeah, fantastic. That's an excellent match, and that's an excellent Dean Douglas Award question as well. I have to say, Arman, I give you my plaudits, and I thank everybody tuning in for engaging with us, for listening to us. We hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you share all your thoughts, all your views, all your questions, everything with us on Twitter, PlayByPlay at PlayByPlay123. Email questions at playbyplay123.co.uk and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/PlayByPlayWrestling. So that's it. Looking forward to the Rumble this Sunday. We're really excited, really excited. We can't wait to see who wins it. We can't wait to see what the road to WrestleMania will hold for us. But until Monday, when we'll know all, from me, Atif, from Arman, it is
John Chainer.